Hey guys, welcome back to the I Am Love channel. My name is Jennifer, and today I want to discuss time being an illusion. Since I have written my article, Why Time is an Illusion and How I Have Shifted Timelines last year, I have gotten so many questions from you guys and requests to make this and discuss this even further. However, before I get into discussing that, I do want to tell you guys about an amazing collaboration that I have been a part of. One of my lovely clients has written a children's book titled Holy Moly. I think that's just so cute. It's basically about children using manifesting through affirmations and the law. So if you have children or anyone in your life that is young, or even your own self, if you'd like to purchase this book, all of the details are going to be in the description below. It's only $5.99, and you can also follow them on Instagram and TikTok because I will actually be recording affirmations for them every single month on their social media. So you could also follow that, and you can play it for your children to repeat before they go to school, for example. I think it's such an amazing idea, and it was actually a very quick manifestation of mine that pretty much happened overnight. So I highly suggest that you guys check that out and let me know what it is that you think of it. So when it comes to time as an illusion, when I put that article out, I did have a few people message me wondering how valid or real that experience was, which I completely understand. But the reason I bring this up is because I want you guys to remember that we can only ever comprehend what we contemplate, what we are willing to expand on. A lot of us are kind of still stuck in our old belief systems and our old way of looking at reality, that we don't even consider the possibility of the fact that reality shifts are actually completely normal. It's a completely normal and natural part of consciousness. But if we don't kind of go into this with consideration of that, it will be actually difficult to, one, notice them, because sometimes they're right in front of us, but we won't even notice them and we'll kind of chalk it up to coincidence. So in my opinion, it's very important to go into this with an open mind. And this is actually why we advocate so much for remembering who you really are, not because of only our true nature, but because knowing that true nature causes us to normalize these experiences, and you want to start normalizing these experiences. And it's also why I personally don't like to always call things miracles, because to me a miracle implies that the experience is rare, but nothing is actually rare. We can only ever see what we contemplate, what our awareness is on. And so if we are aware of a limited reality, of course we're going to only experience things that match that, right? We're going to only project out experiences that are like that. However, if we look at this as a lifestyle that is normal and natural for us to experience these timeline shifts or time being an illusion, then we will start to notice it more. As I've written in that article, it's actually something that we experience all the time. For example, if you've ever lost your keys and you search your entire house or lost anything, and then suddenly it appears in a spot where you could have sworn you already searched, that is an example of a parallel reality shift, a huge parallel reality shift where there was no actual physical intervention happening. And this is 1000% something that you can experience more and more of if you continue to notice them and appreciate them more. You want to see this as an entire different perspective on life. You want to see this as a lifestyle. You want to remember this is who you really are. This is your true nature. And many teachers have said this, that life is like a game, right? I know Florence Scovel has a book called The Game of Life, because life is like a game. It's basically like our playground to get back to who it is that we really are. Now, that doesn't mean that we are delusional to the 3D world. Of course, we take everything as us being one and connected. Everything is an expression of our consciousness. We are all one. We are all here experiencing our own infinite subjective realities. So you definitely want to make sure that you start implementing this more and more as a lifestyle on a daily basis. As I mentioned in the article, I was able to shift my dog's age, and I did that by first believing in who I am, believing that I could actually experience those things. Even though I was having negative moments, as you will read in the article, I was always aware of it. This is actually what it means to shift your self-concept. It is how much do you view yourself as this infinite creation, as God, as one with God. And so when the ego is coming up, when you're starting to implement this, let's just say, for example, you look at the time and you're aware that you're projecting it out in that moment. Your ego is going to want to tell you, wow, that's stupid. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How can that even be possible? Now you have to remember to respond from the place of your true self. Now your true self doesn't think the ego is an issue or an obstacle. And so your human self is in a state in that moment, and it's what it's used to. Of course, it's going to perceive things in that way, but it's still a part of you. It's just a human part of you. And so remind yourself, well, of course the ego is saying this to me right now because that's what it knows. That is what it's familiar with. It's not about berating it, putting it down, saying, oh my God, why didn't I get this? Why don't I remember this? Because that's seeing the ego as an issue. But now that you are aware, that's something that you are one with, that it doesn't take away from who you really are, but instead is a lovely guide to walking you home to your true self and experiencing these reality shifts. When you have moments where you forget and where your mind is telling you otherwise, you can change how you respond to it. And this is also part of experiencing those reality shifts. Because if we don't believe we can experience these things, and we think that it's too difficult for us, that we're not patient enough, that only certain people can, then of course, that's how we will feel, and that is exactly what will continue to reflect back in our 3D world. So not only do we shift how we see reality, but we also shift how we view ourselves as well. We start to validate ourselves and trust in our capabilities. To me, self-validation is so important when it comes to experiencing time shifts and just manifesting in general. Because when we validate ourselves, we don't depend on anything on the outside to determine whether we're on the right track or not. For example, you're manifesting seeing these experiences and it doesn't happen, let's just say in a week or so, or even longer than that. You're not going to depend your validation on these external things. You know your true nature. You are aware that even if you're not experiencing, that does not mean that you never will. And I like to remember that quote from the Bible. It goes along the lines of when Jesus said, you can do everything that I can do and even greater things. And this is always in the back of my mind. Anytime I'm confronted with a situation, I always remember this, that I am so much more infinitely powerful than I'm thinking in this moment. For example, if we are believing that we are a victim to our circumstances and that we are small compared to them, then we will always hold ourselves in that light. That doesn't mean that we haven't all been through our trauma and are still experiencing it, because to be honest, that doesn't take away from what you still carry within you. You're still allowed to work through those things, to be aware of what they actually mean while experiencing big reality shifts. So all of this is actually very important when it comes to experiencing time shifts. There is so much that exists that we are not able to view with the limited scope of our human eyes, and we really can only, like I said, comprehend this when we start to step into that awareness that this is a possibility. Even if you don't want to fully believe this, which is completely fine, you actually don't have to fully believe it, because like I said, you've been doing it all the time without even believing it. It's just that we haven't noticed that we're doing it. When you notice it, when you're present with it, you can see it more and experience it more and utilize it to help people that you love, heal others, and so much more. I think it was our Living in the End podcast where I mentioned that I had manifested a drink appear in my fridge. Really, what happened was that I shifted to a reality where that drink was already in the refrigerator. And, for weeks before this, I was playing around with it. I was viewing myself as a completely new version of Jen. Not the Jen that wasn't able to do these things, but the Jen that could. And it did take weeks for me to be able to comprehend this, believe this, and then it took months for it to be more consistent, for it to be a stable thing that I experience in my life. I was telling a client today, for me, when it comes to manifesting and knowing who I really am, like when a scientist is conducting a new experiment and it's kind of consuming his entire mind, but not like in a negative way, in a way where they're always thinking about it. They're always looking for new ways and how they can improve that experiment or how they can validate their hypothesis. For me, that was how I still do treat manifesting and remembering who I really am, because I really enjoy it. I don't see it as a tool or a technique. I don't see it as a one-off thing. I really view it as a lifestyle. And I don't think that it has to consume our mind, of course, where we think about it 24/7. Of course not. But I do think it's important to shift our perception of situations and people so that when we do want to have a big reality shift or experience time being an illusion, we actually can. I use it for even the most silliest things. For example, the other day, my sister and I were watching a television show together, and we wanted to really finish out the rest of the season in 2 hours, and I think we had like 4 episodes left. Each episode is about 45 minutes, and quote unquote logically, in this physical world, it says that that's not possible for you to finish 4 episodes that are 45 minutes in 2 hours. Yet we did do it. And we only actually realized it afterwards, after kind of setting that intention that it would occur. We realized it afterwards. We're like, wow. And it didn't even feel unusual. It felt like, a normal part of life. Because it's important to test it out, have fun with it. Don't put yourself down if you're not able to experience it immediately. Like I said, it took months for me to be consistent with it, and that's perfectly fine. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think in one of the podcasts I mentioned how reality is like one big flip book. So in a flip book, there's just one moment and you're just flipping through pages, and every single page looks like it is a moving picture. That's essentially how reality is. There's only the present moment, and every single second is a movement, and it looks linear. It looks like we are moving from one place to the next, but it really is all happening in one moment, and we're just projecting out. And when you start to see reality in this way, not in a way where you're ignoring things or being delusional or not caring about things that are important to you, but actually you're seeing them in a more empowered way. These are all examples of ways where you can really start to experience those timeline shifts. And so for now, I'm going to leave you guys with this, and I'm going to do many other parts to this video. I'm going to, talk about more success stories that I have, and I'm going to also leave that article down below, as well as all of the information for the book that I mentioned. But for now, I want you guys to, if you're really considering implementing this in your life, consider seeing things in this way, and message me or comment on this video, or even join our Facebook group and let me know and share your experiences with us with this. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.